How's it going, everyone? I am back with another video. This is going to be my Week 16 recap video where I go through all the NFL games that took place this past week and just break them down, explain my thought process as to how I interpret the games, things like that. So I will just dive into the first game here. I'm coming out with this video very much earlier than I'm used to recording and uploading it, but because there's games on tomorrow for Christmas, I really rushed myself to get this video in today. So yeah, there's that. But yeah, the first game, Broncos Chargers, was the Thursday night game last week. So very, I don't know how to describe this game. Just kind of a tale of two halves, pretty much. The Chargers defense in the first half looked horrible. It left off where it did against the Bucs in the second half, where the Bucs could not be stopped. It's like, what the hell is going on with the Chargers defense? The Broncos looked like the greatest show on turf. Then the second half, the Chargers like very much clamped the Broncos down. They only held them to 6 points, 2 field goals. So they played much better in the second half. Fortunately for the Chargers, they play my team, the Patriots, this week. So they'll probably be having another nice defensive performance in that game. Although I'll talk about my team's game. We actually look pretty solid against the Bills, surprisingly, for the most part. But yeah. So and then the free kick, obviously at the end of the half, the first half. That's another story coming out of this game. It feels like the Broncos are sorry, the Chargers got momentum after that free kick. Again, the second half they very much played solid ball. They were down 2 possessions in the second half, and then they ended up coming back. Herbert played really nice in the second half, played a good half. Herbert played a really good game overall. Yeah, 284, only 8 incompletions, 2 touchdowns. The pick was in the red zone toward the end of it was towards the end of the first half. Nice play by the Broncos. The Broncos defense has kind of been getting torched lately. Kind of a sign of concern for them. They also play the Bengals this week. I think they're going to lose to the Bengals, and so they're probably going to have to win against the Chiefs week 18 to get in, which I think a good amount of that depends on if the Chiefs play their starters in all week 18. If they lose to the Steelers and the Bills win, the Chiefs are definitely going to play their starters week 18, barring whatever reason they don't, some weird reason. So I think a lot of the Broncos playoff hopes depend on that. It's going to be, a little disappointing to see if Denver doesn't make the playoffs, rather, because they've been a really underrated, under the radar, overexceeded pretty much everyone's expectations, I think, going into the year. So it's going to be a little disappointing if they don't make it, but I would much rather probably have a team like Cincy make the 7th seed. I think they're more of a dangerous 7th seed than the Broncos would be. But who knows? The Broncos will be a dangerous 7th seed, I think. I don't think they'll probably beat the Bills or the Chiefs in the first round. More so, I think actually it would be an upset. Obviously, they beat the Chiefs in round one, but I just couldn't pick them to beat the Chiefs round one. But who knows? They should have beaten them in Kansas City the first time. Who knows what's going to happen the second time around? But not to get too ahead of myself here. Good comeback win by the Chargers in this one. Bo Nix played a pretty solid game. A lot of that came in the first half. The Broncos, they had a emphasis to run the ball. Sean Payton had run the ball on his play sheet in like big caps. Pretty good receiving day from some of their guys. Nice balance there. The Chargers, I mentioned, Herbert played well. Gus Edwards broke off a run late in the game that ended up icing the game, put him up 2 scores. McConkey played solid, pretty decent day from the Chargers receivers. They had a good passing day. One of the team stats here, I think they're pretty telling of how the game went. Pretty close in a lot of these categories. Pretty close in a lot of these categories. The Chargers only had 2 penalties for 8 yards. That's really good. Obviously, I don't think I've ever seen 2 penalties for 8 yards. 2 penalties for less than 10 yards. That's insane. I don't think I've ever seen that. So obviously, that's good on the Chargers' part. But yeah, while these team stats are close, I would say that's pretty telling of how the game went. Tough loss to the Broncos. They looked good early on. Chargers came back, won the game. Tough loss to the Broncos. Good win for the Chargers. Going to be interesting to see The Chargers are almost certainly, they're pretty much guaranteed in the playoffs. They get like a 97% chance, and they play my team, the Raiders. So that should be 2 wins for them to end the year. So the Chargers are almost certainly going to make the playoffs. Broncos is going to be interesting to see what happens to them. Oh boy. Okay, hang on. Let me get my sip of water before I talk about this game here. Oh boy. Oh boy. So, I'll just get this off my chest. The first half, what a surprise. The Chiefs get multiple egregious calls to go in their favor. Let's see if I can remember them off the top of my head. So there was the touchdown that was overturned for the Texans, which I do think it was an incomplete pass, but the roughing the passer was bullshit that they tacked on. That was horrible. Gave the Chiefs a free 15 yards to that. There was the OPI on Dell where Dell made no contact, completely ruined the Texans' drive. Looks like they were about to score a touchdown, maybe at minimum a field goal. And that OPI, couple plays later, Stroud interception happened. There was a holding call on the Broncos that negated, it might have been either a sack or an incompletion, but one of the two. So there's those three egregious calls. Even the friggin' announcers were like, I don't see anything there on the Dell OPI. But of course, the Chiefs are the benefactors of that. Oh my God, I hate the Chiefs so much. Obviously, big story, Tank Dell got hurt. Obviously out for the year for the Texans. That was brutal, his injury. Hopefully he's able to come back, have a solid career. Probably, unfortunately, not at the level that he would be playing at fully healthy, but who knows? Hopefully he's able to come back. Very ugly injury. That was the Texans were about to tie the game too, and then Tank Dell was in a really good game too. They got the touchdown, were about to tie the extra point, and after that, it just felt like all the momentum just derailed for the Texans. They just offensively, they very much struggled after that. Chiefs offense was fairly efficient in this game. Definitely still some signs of concern. Mahomes, I think, played a solid game. Mid Holmes, as I call him, especially this season. But yeah, Mahomes, I think, played solid. Rushing, Pacheco, he's been back a couple games. Hasn't really got too much going outside a couple plays. Kareem Hunt played solid. Worthy had a good game. Hollywood Brown, his debut as a Chief, he played solid. Samaje Perine caught some checkdowns that went the distance. Not the distance, but a good distance, like for a touchdown, went a good distance. Stroud had a very up and down game. He looked good some parts, looked bad some parts. Mixon kind of had some, he had a couple good individual rushes, but my friggin' fire alarm battery going off in the background here. But Mixon had a couple good individual rushes, but kind of struggled to get it consistently going this game. Tank Dell, I mentioned, left the third quarter. He still was their leading receiver by a good margin, almost 40 yards, 38 yards. Nico Collins played a solid game. Schultz, so, decent balance between their top guys there. We'll get into team stats. I think they're pretty telling, sort of close in a lot of these categories. But the Chiefs, you could kind of just get the sense they were going to win the game as soon as they went up 8. You kind of knew that was probably going to, be enough to win in the game. Yeah, I think these stats are pretty telling of how the game went here. Chiefs, obviously, even though their offense has been like mid all season for the most part, it's been like very good on third down, like historically good. So they had another good game on third down. So there's that. Definitely some signs of concern for the Chiefs. Some people are saying the Chiefs are just saving like their big things for their big plays rather for the playoffs. I know maybe, but I don't think their offense has been mid all season, so I don't think they've been saving it the entire season, but I don't know. But yeah, Texans, they did sign Deontay Johnson though, so the Chargers were going to get him, it looked like, and then obviously the Dell injury, the Texans were ahead of them on the waiver wire, so they got Deontay Johnson. I think that's a good pickup for them. I definitely think the Texans are probably a first round exit. They've just been weird, just a weird season for them. Just something's not right with that team all year, it's felt like. Chiefs, who the hell knows at this point? I could see them losing their first game or winning the Super Bowl again. Hard to tell with this team. Just a very, very weird year for the Chiefs. They're winning, but they look so beatable. And how many one possession games are they going to win in a row? Another one here, one possession game, 8-point game. But yeah, good Saturday game. Was really hoping the Texans could win. Hopefully the Steelers can make every citizen in America's day better on Christmas outside of Kansas City. They hopefully they make everyone's day better outside of KC by beating the Chiefs. That was probably the greatest Christmas present I've ever gotten in my life was when the Raiders beat the Chiefs last year. Seeing that team lose and struggle just brings such joy to my face. I hate that team so much. But anyway, I guess good win for the Chiefs against a weird but still solid Texans team. I picked the Texans. I thought they were going to upset them. Their defense, I think, played kind of a meh game. Their offense is kind of meh. So I guess this is the result that transpired. But I guess it was a solid game nonetheless, even though I was pulling for the Texans. The other Saturday game, Steelers Ravens. So scoring might be a little deceiving here. It was it's a one-score game in the fourth quarter, kind of late in the fourth quarter, and then the Ravens ended up getting 2 touchdowns tacked onto their lead. So it looks like the Ravens blew them out, which technically they did. But again, it was a close game throughout. Russell Wilson had that play in the second quarter where he got a little bit greedy, went for the end zone, fumbled the ball. That kind of changed momentum in the Ravens' favor. The Steelers were about to go up 14-7, if I remember right, if that happened. Russ got that touchdown. The Steelers, I figured the Ravens were going to win. I felt sort of confident with them, especially with all the Steelers injuries that they had. And the Steelers kind of stuck around, and it was tighter than I thought. Then the Ravens pulled away. Exit that out. Jalen Warren had a pretty solid game. He had a couple nice rushes. Harrison get the ball too much. He had a couple nice rushes. Calvin Austin, he had a pretty good game. Cut a couple of deep passes, one play action. I don't know how the hell he caught it. Jalen Warren, their second leading receiver, they've definitely struggled with George Pickens out of the lineup. So looks like he's going to be back tomorrow. Surprised that his injury didn't get extended, because with the Chiefs, the luckiest team in the existence of sports, playing them, I figured maybe his injury would keep him out. Knock on wood here, though, that it doesn't keep him out tomorrow. He doesn't get hurt or something like that in the game, re-aggravate his injury. The Ravens here, yeah, Lamar played a pretty solid game. The pick, Rashad Bateman just stopped running his route, so I don't know what the hell happened there. And then 2 plays later, Russell Wilson threw a pick six. That was a bad pick. And that was pretty much when the Ravens just took full control of the game. Derrick Henry had a really good game. No touchdowns, though. He didn't score a touchdown in 2 weeks, if I remember right, because he didn't score one against the Giants. I don't even think he had one against the Eagles, now that I'm remembering. So it's been a couple weeks now since Derrick Henry last scored a touchdown. Zay Flowers played a pretty good game. Mark Andrews, too. So nice balance there between the Ravens receivers and tight ends. Look at the team stats here. I think it's pretty telling of how the game went. I think the Ravens did outplay them. Definitely deserved to win. They outplayed them in a good amount of these categories here. They outplayed them in pretty much every category. Penalties, that's a good sign for the Ravens. That's been their Achilles heel all year. Penalties, they only had 2 for 10 in this one, so that's good on their part. The Ravens are really weird. This is the most, I don't know, most, I don't want to say flawed, or I don't know, just this is the Ravens, this Ravens team this year is not getting talked about as being a contender as much in comparison to the past couple of years. They've had some flaws that have been a bit more glaring, especially defensively, busted coverages, things like that. But still, they are a very dangerous team. I mean, they clinched playoff solid this win. So obviously they're in the tournament. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens to the Ravens. And what I think the Steelers I actually don't know the Ravens schedule off the top of my head. I know the Steelers play the Chiefs and then the Bengals. I honestly think the Bengals will beat them the last week of the year. at least as of now. That's my thought process, and I think they'll beat the Chiefs, or I think the Bengals beat them. Maybe I just reversed that, said they would beat the Bengals. So I think the Bengals beat them. They'll beat the Steelers. So I think they're going to finish 11-6. The Ravens. Let me look up who the Ravens play actually. Um, let's see. Oh yeah, they play the Texans tomorrow, and they play the Texans and Browns. So actually, now that I'm looking at that, I think the Ravens should honestly win the division. I think they should go 12-5. So if they do that, they'll be the 4 seed or the 3 seed. Steelers will be the 5. Except if the Steelers went out and go 12-5, I think the Steelers are the tiebreaker, if I remember. Yeah, I think the Steelers are the tiebreaker because the Steelers are leading the division right now, technically, and they're tied. But anyway, my point is, whichever team out of these two teams, whichever one doesn't win the division, is going to be the 5 seed, most likely, and play the Chargers, or not the Chargers, the Texans. So I definitely am picking whichever team out of these two teams loses the division to beat the Texans, as of now at least. But again, not to get too ahead of myself here. But Steelers 2-game losing streak, I think they'll be fine. Not too concerned there. Not that I'm pulling for them as a Patriots fan, but I'm not too concerned with them. Ravens maybe heating up at the right time. Going to be interesting to see what happens with them and the Steelers as well. But pretty good Saturday game there. Here we are. Giants Falcons. So not too much to talk about with this game. Just an awful shit performance by the Giants per usual. They actually were up 7-0 at the second quarter. Yet they're toward the start of the second quarter, they were up 7-0. Tyrone Tracy caught a nice touchdown pass from Drew Lock. Just got in bounds there, tapping the end zone before he was out of bounds. That was pretty nice on his part. And then the Falcons scored 34 unanswered. 2 pick-sixes. Jesse Bates had one. I forget who got the my old guy Matt Judon from the Patriots got the other one. But so yeah. Michael Penix looked pretty good. The interception was not on him, 100% on Kyle Pitts, who he put the ball right in Pitts' hands, and Pitts just bobbled it into the hands of one of the Giants DBs. I forget who exactly it was, but that was not on Michael Penix at all, completely on Pitts. I thought Michael Penix played really good. Bijan looked pretty good. He got 2 touchdowns. Nice balance between the receivers there. Mooney and London had good games. On the Giants side, pretty much nothing in the run game. Drew Lock, not a great game. Neighbors, consistent game per usual. Wando Robinson played a solid game. Tyrone Tracy caught a couple passes, so I guess that's good for them, at least the Giants. Looking at the team stats here. Yeah, definitely, I think telling of this game, Falcons outplayed them in all these categories by pretty good margins in all of them. So I think that's pretty telling of how this game went. And yeah, not too much to talk about this game, really. Falcons took care of business against the worst team in football, at least in my opinion. Got a much needed win in the boy. Computer just loves to keep on scanning here, doesn't it? And the Bucks lost to the Cowboys, and so now the Falcons are leading the division because of the tiebreaker. They swept the Bucks. So yeah, they swept the Bucks, so they get the tiebreaker. They play the Commanders next week. That'll be a very interesting game. And then they play the Panthers the last week of the year, which I can honestly see them losing, but I think they'll win. Oh, great. No threats found. Thanks, computer. I think they'll win against the Panthers. So I think at worst, they'll finish 9-8, but I'm going to probably predict them to, I guess, upset the Commanders. I assume they're underdogs. Let me look, actually. The line is out on that game. Let's see here. Let's see. Yeah, the Commanders are favored by 4.5. Sunday Night Football in Washington. Maybe, I don't know if I'll pick them to upset the Commanders, but I think they have a really good chance. I'll have to think about that more. But the Bucks play the Saints and the Panthers. The Bucks should win both those games, but I could actually see them lose. I think they'll probably beat the Saints. I'll probably predict them to win both those games, but I could see them either splitting or losing both. I don't know. It's gonna be interesting to see how this division pans out. The Bucks or the Falcons, whichever one doesn't win the division, can actually sneak in as the 7 seed too. I'm pretty sure. So that'll be interesting to see how that pans out. Who wins the division? maybe the other team getting in as a wild card. But yeah, Falcons took care of business in this one. Michael Penix looked pretty good. Falcons are probably going to end up moving on from Kirk Cousins almost for sure, cut or trade him. So yeah, that contract does not look good, obviously, but good win for the Falcons taking care of business there. Um, Lions Bears. So the Lions offense was phenomenal per usual. They had a play in this game where they faked a fumble. I've never seen this before. They faked a fumble and Laporta's wide open for a touchdown. I thought that they fumbled it initially. I was tricked, just like I'm sure everyone was. And then Goff hit or I thought it was just like a busted play. Goff tripped something, Gibbs tripped and Laporta's wide open. I'm like, what a phenomenal idea, play design by Ben Johnson. My God. So what a great play that was. So yeah, the Lions offense is really good in this game. Goff had a really good game. Gibbs had a really good game. Jameson Williams had a good game. Amon-Ra, and per usual, nice good balance. Most of the receivers had really solid games. The Bears offense actually had a solid game. They just kept turning it over. They only scored 17, but they moved the ball enough to probably score like 20, I don't know, like 24 plus ish, somewhere around there. Caleb, I actually think played a solid game. Yeah, that's actually a pretty solid game right there. Maybe we would like to see a couple more completions, but still a really solid game for Caleb Williams. Actually, that's a good amount of completions. Rushing, they pretty much had nothing. Caleb Williams is their leading rusher. Keenan Allen went off. I'm going to start Keenan Allen in my championship league that I'm in. I'm in two championship games. One of them I have been starting DeAndre Swift over Keenan Allen. I'm going to put Keenan Allen in over Swift and just pray to God that it doesn't backfire for me because Keenan Allen's been having really good games. He had a really good game in this one. Roman Doomsday had a really good game too. He had 2 turnovers though. I know he's one, I think 2, if I remember right off the top of my head. DJ Moore, pretty solid game. So nice balance between the Bears receivers there. With the team stats here, I think it's pretty telling. The Lions definitely outplayed the Bears this game, but the Bears just kept turning it over. Let's see how many turnovers they only had 2, but they were both deep into Lions territory, if I remember right. So that really hurt. Lions defense, I guess it didn't play great, but with all the injuries, I guess it obviously played well enough to win. They held them to 17, but again, maybe got a little fortunate with some of the turnovers, even though, I think they kind of forced them. It wasn't just pure luck like the Chiefs get per usual. Yeah, a lot of these stats I think are pretty telling of how the game went. So Lions, the Eagles also got upset by the Commanders, so that gives them some breathing room for the 1 seed. It looks like the Lions might squeak out the 1 seed, but who knows? It's going to come down between them and the Vikings. I think the Vikings are going to lose to the Packers, and the Lions play the Niners. I think the Lions are going to beat the Niners, so I think the Lions are going to have the 1 seed clinched by the end of next week, week 17. I keep saying next week, this week, same thing. But yeah, I think I think the Lions will have the 1 seed clinched by the end of the week. But who knows? The NFL is probably going to flex the Lions Vikings week 18 if both teams win to Sunday Night Football because whoever wins that game, if both teams win next week, whoever wins week 18 between the Lions and Vikings is going to be the 1 seed, and the loser is going to be the 5 seed. So obviously there's a huge difference in that seeding. So the NFL probably is pulling for both teams to win this upcoming week. But yeah, good in this one. Good win for the Lions against the Bears team that almost came back against them a couple weeks ago. Bears their offense looks solid, but they are probably just praying, counting down the seconds till the season's over. A good win for the Lions in that one. Cardinals, Panthers. So the Panthers in this game jumped out to a big lead. They were up. God, what was the score? It was, I want to say. Wait, let me remember. Let me think for a second here. I forget exactly. I think they were up like 13-0 or something like that. And yeah, I think they were up like 13-0. And then the Cardinals got a field goal. Yeah, okay, so they were up big early. Then the Cardinals came back and they were down three at the half. Then the fourth quarter, the Panthers took another two-score lead. Cardinals put together a clutch touchdown drive. Murray ran it in. Looked like the Cardinals defense got a stop. Then it looked like the Cardinals were going to end up stealing the game. Maybe not stealing the game, but going down, winning the game with a game-winning drive. That didn't happen. They ended up getting a field goal right at the end of the game to send it to OT with my old guy, Chad Ryland, who couldn't make a kick for the life of him when he played with my team, the Patriots, except for that Denver Christmas Eve game, which actually that's exactly a calendar year from that was a calendar year away from today, or from today rather. That's insane. Um Besides that kick, he couldn't make anything with us, it felt like. And now he can't miss with the friggin' Cardinals. I think he's missed like a kick or two, if I remember right. Overtime, Cardinals they got the ball. Or no, the Panthers got the ball. I think they forced a punt, and the Cardinals defense did. Cardinals couldn't do anything with it. They got a fourth and like short conversion in like their own territory. So that was a really ballsy call. If they don't get that, they're almost guaranteed to lose. And Gain would have gotten shit on so much, which I don't blame him. I mean, you punt it, their Panthers probably at midfield. They just need like a first down or two to get into field goal range, maybe like 15-ish yards, somewhere around there. Um, and yeah, the Cardinals ended up punting after that first down. Panthers, or I'm trying to remember exactly how. I think the Cardinals punted. Regardless, Chuba Hubbard ended up getting a couple nice rushes. He got a rushing touchdown to win the game. So it looked like the Panthers. I thought the Panthers going to kind of. This was a hard game to predict, but for me, but I thought the Panthers were going to look like they did last week and most of the season. But they looked like the Panthers that have been playing some solid ball against good teams. They played a really solid game in this one. Bryce Young had a really solid game. He had a nice touchdown throw late that put them up two scores. Chuba Hubbard had a really good game. He went off. He's been having a really good year. Nice balance between the receiving core. Murray played like a not great but not horrible game. James Conner got hurt just in time for my other championship team, of course. I'm going to just pray that he plays and he's not limited in any way. But he had a good game. He was also their leading receiver. Michael Wilson, number two. Martin Harrison Jr., just a very weird season, kind of puzzling season. Outside of that Rams game week two, he just struggled to get involved consistently. We'll get the team stats here. By the way, this game also officially eliminated the Cardinals from playoff contention. So that sucks for the Cardinals. They were kind of hot at one point this year, and ever since their bye week, they've just very much struggled. They haven't won outside of last week against my team, the Pats. Looking at these stats here, I think they're pretty telling. Pretty close in a lot of these. Obviously, the game was super close. Yeah, almost like dead even in a lot of these. Now that I'm glancing at them here. Yeah, so very evenly contested game. I think after that early lead, the Panthers got the Cardinals outplayed them, and they had like two separate chances late to get either a field goal or touchdown. To either field goal would have tied, touchdown would have taken the lead, and they just couldn't do it. Kyler had a pick on 3rd and 12 that was kind of ugly. But yeah, they ended up getting the field goal, sent it to OT, but Panthers ended up holding on. It's good grinded out win for the Panthers. Cardinals, you're going to be really disappointed that they lost this one, eliminated from the playoffs. So that's a tough one for the Cardinals. Okay, Rams Jets. So this game actually kind of went as a bit how I expected. I expected this game to be close, and a lot closer than some people were thinking. That's exactly what happened. The Jets, it looks like they were going to win the game. They were up 6-0. Anders Carlson missed a PAT. Rams ended up getting a touchdown in the second quarter too. They missed a PAT as well. But the Jets were up 9-6 at halftime. And then scoreless third quarter, the Jets had a long ass drive in the third quarter that they ended up getting nothing on. They turned it over on downs, throwing it to Adams in the end zone. Then the fourth quarter, the Rams scored 13 unanswered. The Jets just, well, they actually moved the ball decently, but they just couldn't get any points. Anders Carlson missed a field goal that would have cut it to 7. Um, then the Jets defense forced a stop and they muffed the punt. So, yeah, Stafford really didn't do a lot this game. Not a great game from him. Kyren Williams had a solid game. That's the Rams. I mean, they beat the Niners in an ugly game. Their defense stepped up, and they beat the Jets this game. Their defense stepped up. So it's weird. They have games like this where they don't do much offensively, and their defense like balls out. And then like I guess the Bills or the Bills game was kind of an outlier for their defense. That's like kind of the first game their defense not played, you know, well all year. Well, I guess it's week 2 against the Cardinals too, but outside of those two games, their defense is like played very, very well for the most part this year. But yeah, the Rams, they keep winning, but just a little, I don't know, they're getting hot, but just kind of weird, kind of just ugly, weird wins in the way they're getting them, it feels like. Puka had a good game. Kupp not been getting involved too much. Past couple weeks. Yeah, Rodgers played a okay game, I guess. Not horrible, but I guess it's solid, decent game. Breece Hall had a decent day rushing too. Devontae, he had a good game. Maybe him and Rodgers getting their connection back. Devontae's been having good games recently. Went off against the Jags last week. Conklin, get Wilson. Yeah, good balance there between the Jets receivers and tight ends. Look at these team stats here. It's like, how did the Jets lose this game? Good question. Good question. Turnovers is probably the answer. They had 2. The Rams only had 1. And Stafford, the pick he threw was kind of ugly too. That was not a great looking pick. But yeah, a lot of these stats are close. You would think the Jets won the game based off these stats, probably. It definitely should have been a 1-score game. The Jets definitely, I think, played well enough offensively to score more than 9 points. They had 321 yards. So that's definitely, most of the time you score more than 9 points. Again, Carlson missed 4 points worth of kicks, so that doesn't help in a game like this. But yeah, a lot of these stats close turnovers hurt the Jets in this one. Yeah, that one sack the Rams got was Rodgers fumbled it, so that obviously helped the Rams. But yeah, kind of an ugly win for the Rams. Jets have been playing some, not solid, but they've been playing better ball the past couple weeks. They just cannot win any game except last week against the Jags. Just they're having a really tough time winning games. Rams, good, ugly, grinded out win for them, I guess. They're heating up at the right time. Oh boy, Eagles Commanders. So this was a wild, wild game. It looked like the Eagles were just going to blow the Commanders out. They were up 14-0 at the start. Obviously, big story this game. Jalen Hurts got hurt, his concussion. Kenny Pickett came in. Kenny Pickett obviously didn't play great. I don't think he played horrible, though. A lot of people are blaming the loss on Pickett. I don't think it's solely on Pickett, but he obviously didn't play too great. I think he did what he had to do, though. After that first quarter, though, the Eagles only put up 12 points. Devontae Smith dropped a wide open pass that pretty much would have iced the game. The Commanders only had 1 timeout. It would have been after the 2-minute warning. So the Eagles probably could have just gotten a first down running the ball, or at worst, settle for a field goal. The Commanders would have had like very little time left, no timeouts, had to try to get a touchdown. So that drop hurt, obviously. And then late in the game, again, the Eagles defense has been absolutely phenomenal this year. The one like glaring concern that I see on that defense is their prevent defense. And I mentioned this a couple times in my videos, I think. That prevent defense is really, really bad. Week 2 against the Falcons obviously stands out as an example. Completely blew the game there at the end after the Saquon drop. So the Eagles literally could have one loss if their receivers just hold on to the ball. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, they could be 14-1. My God. Um, the Ravens game at the end they won, but that prevent defense they allowed a touchdown late, like 2 seconds left on the clock or something like that. And then this game, they allowed Jane Daniels to march down the field, score a touchdown, 6 seconds left, which the Commanders definitely got away with a false start at the end there. But still, the Eagles should not have even allowed the Commanders, to be in that scenario. And I mentioned Pickett. I think he played fine. Hurts only attended 4 passes, he had a couple nice rushes. Um, Barkley, he had a really good game. A lot of this came in the first quarter. He kind of got not shut down, but it was very quiet after that first quarter. It felt like A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith was literally their entire receiving corps for the day. Outside of Gainwell caught 1 pass. So again, Kenny Pickett, I don't think played great. I think he did fine for what was asked of him. They should have won the game still, but I mean, you got to spread the ball more than literally 2 receivers, and with 1 catch coming from your running back in the backfield there. Jane Daniels had a really good game. He did have 2 picks though, but he had a really good game. 5 touchdowns, obviously that clutch drive at the end there. He also was their leading rusher. They had pretty much nothing in the run game outside Jane Daniels. All their receivers had pretty good games too. The Eagles, it was giving me like flashbacks last year. Zacchaeus had a touchdown. The Eagles missed multiple tackles. It was like their defense at the end of the year last year, especially in that Bucs wild card game. They were missing tackles left and right. It was just embarrassing. Yeah, so nice game from all the receivers. McLaurin, a nice touchdown grab too. May Brown. So yeah, nice balance there. One of the team stats here, I definitely think they're pretty telling of how this game went. Really close in a lot of categories. If the Eagles outplayed them in some, the Commanders outplayed them in some. Turnovers really hurt the Commanders in this game. That's another. Again, this is just one game. The Eagles were due for a loss. Obviously, the Commanders are a good team, division game, so no shame in losing this one. Especially, when they should have had it. It's not like they got blown out or anything. They should have won the game. But the Commanders won the turnover battle 5-2, and I'm actually trying to remember when the Eagles' second turnover was. Now that I'm trying to kind of blanking, but I remember the Pickett interception. I'm struggling to remember the fumble. But anyway, they won the turnover battle. They turned over by 3. The Eagles did. Came to basic math here. The Eagles won the turnover battle by 3, and they lost the game still. That's not a great sign, obviously. They also not dominated. They won the time possession by about 13 minutes ish. And yeah, I mean, when a team turns it over 5 times, you're supposed to win the game, and they didn't. And again, Hurts obviously being out, they probably would have won if Hurts. I mean, they still should have won with Pickett in there, but they probably would have won with Hurts in there. But still, you gotta finish the game off, especially when you're up 14-0. Yeah, a lot of these stats are close. I think they're pretty telling. The Eagles really struggled on third down. Obviously, a lot of that was with Pickett. Commanders, pretty good third down efficiency there. C.J. Gardner-Johnson got tossed in controversial fashion too. So again, the Eagles lost. I have very little concern for them. Again, not that I'm pulling for the Eagles as a Patriots fan. As a matter of fact, I hate the Eagles, and I mostly root for them to lose, unless like they're playing the Chiefs or something. But the Eagles are due for a loss. I mentioned it, I think, in my predictions video. If they went out like I predicted them to finish 15-2, obviously they would have wanted to win the Super Bowl this year. That's their goal, their ultimate goal. So let's just assume the Lions get the. So they would have either had to win 3 or 4 games, depending on if they get the 1 seed or not. So they would have either needed to win. So that would have been, they went 15-2, 13-game win streak. So they would have either needed to win 16 or 17 games in a row to win the Super Bowl. So that's literally a perfect season if you combine all those wins in a row together. And I know that's not how it works, but would that have happened? I don't know. My point is they were due for a loss, and they got it out of the way. So that's, I guess, good for the Eagles, even though it derailed their chance at the 1 seed. They still technically have a chance, but they're not going to get it. It's going to be like a miracle if they get it. This really killed their chance at the 1 seed, but at least they got their loss out of the way now compared to the playoffs, obviously, when they would have been out if you lose in the playoffs. So, yeah, really good win for the Commanders. It looks like they might have been in a slump for a bit. Maybe they're out of it now, but really good win for the Commanders. Super fun game to watch, back and forth. If the Eagles had won this game, I would have won $19 in my 6-leg parlay. So, of course, that's probably why DeVonta Smith bobbled the ball and dropped it. Realized I needed the Eagles to win. Of course, my 5 other legs hit, but whatever, I'm used to it. I've had nothing but shit for luck betting this year. But anyway, good win for the Commanders. Super entertaining game. Eagles will be fine, I think. Browns Bengals. Not too much to talk about with this game, I don't think. Game played out similar to how they played the first game, their first time around. Browns defense played solid. Bengals defense actually played a really solid game. Again, it was against DTR, so not much. The Bengals defense has obviously played like dog shit most of this year, historically bad. But the games it has played well, the competition has not been great. Obviously, like against the Giants, the Browns twice, teams like that. DTR had a couple like plays where he was scrambling around. He ended up getting some. I don't know how the hell he got some of the completions off. Uh, Ford, it's a little misleading because he had a big run to start the game, and then he had a couple after that, but he didn't really do too much after that first big rush. DTR had a couple nice scrambles. Again, passing, DTR didn't play great, obviously. He had a really tough game passing the ball. The Browns were down 17-0. They ended up scoring a touchdown. They missed the extra point. Their defense kept getting stops, and it was like, oh my God, are the Browns going to, make this a game? Then the Bengals got pretty much a garbage time TD that plummeted my fantasy chances. I had like a 60-something% win percentage. Then the guy was playing at Chase and Burrow, and so obviously that was a shitload of points for him, and it plummeted my chances down to like 38% or 39%, something like that. I'm like, you've got to be fucking kidding me. Ended up winning, thank God, but I was so pissed off when that initially happened. But yeah, Burrow got a free play, got chased for a touchdown deep, like a 32-yarder or something like that. Anyway, yeah, not much in the Browns receivers really. Njoku had a good game. Ford was their second leading receiver. Burrow played a really solid game per usual. Really good game from him. Had an insane touchdown throw where he was like, it was like the Mahomes play in the Super Bowl into the box, except unlike Mahomes for that play, Joe Burrow actually not only completed the pass, but it was a touchdown. Chase Brown had a really good rushing day. He's almost at 1,000 yards. That's insane for him. He didn't start till like week 9 or something like that. Jabbar, good game per usual. Nice balance between the receivers. Yoshi Voss, I like him. T. Higgins, good game. Look at the team stats here. I think they're pretty telling of how the game went. The Bengals outplayed them in pretty much every category. Yeah, I think it's pretty telling of how the game went, I think. Burrow did have a fumble though that the Browns scooped up, and I'm like, okay, they actually are they seriously able to score and make this a game? But Bengals defense settled in. The Bengals defense played well. They were all over the Browns, blew up a lot of plays. So credit to the Bengals defense. Hopefully it can play at a half decent level the remaining 2 games, and they somehow make the postseason. That'll be interesting. Hopefully the Bengals make it. I'm a big Joe Burrow guy. I like Joe Burrow. Reminds me a lot of Brady, his play style, just methodically, surgically diagnosing the defense. So I like Burrow. So I like the Bengals. I'm pulling for them to somehow make the playoffs, but I don't think they're going to. But who knows? Brown, just an ugly loss. Obviously, Winston's better than DTR, so I don't know what the hell they're doing there. But yeah, ugly loss to the Browns. Good, much needed win for the Bengals to keep their playoff hopes alive. Titans Colts. So the Titans were up 7-0, and then they picked Richardson off when the Colts were getting drives again. I'm like, all right, well, the Bengals need a Colts loss, and a Dolphins loss. I'm like, so maybe this is the Colts loss, the way this is going. And then the Colts scored 38 unanswered after they were down 7-0. And I'm like, Jesus. And then the Colts or the Titans scored a bunch unanswered, and they made an 8-point game with just about 2 minutes left. And it's like, are the Colts seriously about to blow this lead? And the Titans had been a 3rd and 8, I think, with I think it was a 2 minutes and change left, and they had all three of their timeouts. The Colts ended up converting it, and they ended up getting a couple first downs. They made the Titans use all their timeouts. The Titans got the ball like within like their own 10 with like 2 seconds left, and they ended up Rudolph threw a pick. But the friggin' Titans almost made an insane comeback. The Colts might, I think, just got you know, too content, just were playing, too much prevent defense, getting too satisfied instead of keeping the pedal to the metal there. Mason Rudolph, obviously he had 3 picks, but he actually did pretty good completion percentage wise, had a decent amount of yards, and he had 2 touchdowns. And obviously 3 picks hurt. Again, the third one was just he was trying to make something happen at the end there. Not really put too much blame on him for that one. Pretty much nothing in the run game. Again, receivers, Conquo, Ridley, Spears. Spears, they're obviously their running back, but decent games from them. I guess more so Conquo and Ridley. Ridley, a lot of that came on the touchdown, so maybe that's a bit misleading. Richardson only had 11 pass attempts in this game. That's insane, and they put up 38 points. And he only had 7 completions. Jonathan Taylor went off. Obviously, that's a big reason why, and they were big. Richardson had a good game running too. Again, Richardson did nothing passing pretty much. So not much from the receivers outside of Downs and A.D. Mitchell making some nice catches there between the two of them. Look at the team stats here. I mean, the Colts definitely deserved to win the game. They outplayed them. I think these stats are pretty telling. Definitely should not have been an 8-point game with how big of a lead the Colts had. Yeah, so a lot of these stats are pretty telling. Colts outplayed them in pretty much all the categories here to penalties. So, yeah, if the Colts, they just need to win their next 2, and the Broncos need to lose out, which I definitely think is possible. But who knows the Colts? They are just a weird team. They can beat anyone but lose to anyone. They're weird this year. And you just look at the Giants and the Jags. All right, that should be 2 free wins, but it's like they've struggled to win games consistently, week to week, and get a win streak on. So who knows? And they should absolutely beat the Giants. The Jags, who knows? I could see the Jags pulling off the upset. Who the hell knows, though? Titans, obviously, their season's a disaster. Their season's over. But Colts, much needed win. Good performance, but certainly wanted, not take their foot off the gas in a game like this the next time for them. Definitely, hopefully, they learned their lesson. At least in that one, if I'm a Colts fan, that's what I would be hoping my team takes away from that one. This was a really good game. Vikings Seahawks, really, really good, entertaining game in this one, back and forth game. I honestly thought the Seahawks were going to win the game when they took the lead toward the end of the game there. And I thought that their defense is going to end up coming up clutch, but Darnold with a nice drive, hit Jefferson, scrambling touchdown. That pretty much sent me to the champ game in one of my leagues. So I was so fucking hyped when that happened. And then the Vikings defense held on. The Seahawks got in long field range. I think they attempted a 60-yard. It was short. Then the Seahawks defense forced a 3-and-out. They got the ball back, and Geno's first pass was picked. Vikings ended up winning the game. So really good sign that we already kind of knew this. The Vikings went on the road, beat a really solid, okay, maybe, not top tier team, but, really dangerous, good Seahawks team on the road, really hard environment to play in Seattle. They won a close game. They had to come back late. So they were really clutch on both sides of the ball. Darnold played a really good game. Aaron Jones had a solid day too. Jefferson went off. Addison had a little bit of a quiet game. He did have a touchdown on their first drive. Hawkinson, yes, pretty good game for Jefferson. Then outside of that, not too much in the Vikings receivers. Gino, I think he had a good game, but his two picks obviously hurt them. Pretty much nothing in the run game for the Seahawks. JSN had a good game. Metcalf, some fans. So yeah, good balance between their receivers. Um, Looking at the team stats here, it's like you would probably assume the Seahawks won because the Seahawks outplayed them team stats wise in a lot of these categories. Yeah, I mean, neither team is good on third down. My God, 2 of 10 and 3 of 12. Penalties not very good for either team. Time session pretty close. Yeah, it's just the turnovers hurt the Seahawks. Vikings didn't have any, so obviously that very much benefited them. Yeah, the Vikings had the lead most of this game. The Seahawks had to come back, but they had the lead. Again, I thought they were going to win, but really clutch drive by Darnold and company. Vikings still alive for the 1 seed. They have to be the quietest 13-2 team like I've ever seen. It's insane. Everyone's trying with the Lions and the Eagles. The Vikings are right there too. Something about the Vikings though, with me, I just still trust teams like the Eagles and the Lions over them in the postseason. I would probably pick them over the Vikings if they matched up. And honestly, same with the Packers, probably. The Packers are the most dark horse Super Bowl pick this year. Ooh, the Packers. I almost picked the Packers to get to the Super Bowl this year. So, yeah, we'll have to, again, don't want to get too nice. So I'm just so excited for the playoffs to happen. I just honestly want these 2 weeks to just friggin' end for Christ's sake so we can get to the playoffs. But that's not true. I guess more football, but you guys know what I mean. But yeah, really good win for the Vikings in this one. Clutch gene, both sides of the ball. Seahawks will be fine. I think the Rams going to win the division, but maybe the Seahawks can get in as a wild card team. I don't know. Actually don't know if they can or not. Because I don't know if they had the tiebreaker over the Commanders or not, but I'm not sure. Seahawks still have a chance in the division, though. I think at worst they'll go 9-8. I forget off the top of my head, but I think they play kind of a shitty team. One of these next 2 weeks. Let me look here. Yeah, Bears and Rams. So they should beat the Bears Thursday night. Then the Rams, I think they'll probably lose. So I think they'll finish 9-8. They won't win the division, but who knows? We'll have to see what happens. Really, fun year for the Seahawks, I think. Up and down year, but still. Very sleeper team, fun year for the Seahawks. A lot of close games. Obviously, would probably want to have a better record with all the close games they've been in, but still, fun year for the Seahawks. But good win for the Vikings. Going to be interesting to see what happens with these two teams the last 2 weeks of the year. Okay, yep. Gotta sip my water here. Hang on. Boy, oh boy. Boy, oh boy. Where do I even start with this game? Oh boy. Well, I was getting shades of when we were an actual good football team. We were up 14-0 afternoon game. The vibes there. We were up 14-0, playing a really good game. It was like the good old days when we had Tom Brady. We're Super Bowl contenders. Playing a really good team. We get out to an early lead, playing good football. Yeah, for May, again, May played a really good game, I think. Statistically, it doesn't look equally great, but first drive, the touchdown to Booty was amazing. Good catch by Booty. Second drive, Stevenson got a touchdown. We were up 14-0. Then I'm like, oh my God, we're actually going to win the game. I'm like, we actually might win this game, which I figured this game would be close. I certainly figured we would cover the 14, this spread I'm referring to. And then James Cook got a breakaway touchdown. I'm like, all right, yep, well, we're back to normal. 14-7. And then we ended up holding the Bills to only 7. We were up 14-7 at half. We got a pick on Allen, and we actually ran a fake punt on 4th and 1. I'm like, that has to be like the first aggressive call Mayo's had as our head coach. So I was like, thank God, finally, Mayo getting aggressive. He seems so conservative with some of his, coaching decisions this year, especially go for it or not. He had another one late in the game. He could have gone for it, but he punted. I'm like, whatever. I don't think that one would. I don't know. Could go argue either way. I guess I was fine with the punt. Um, what else? What else? What else about this game? Yeah, the Bills scored a touchdown in the third, so it was 14-14. They got a field goal, it was 17-14. And then we had a lateral play, or it was a backwards pass to Stevenson, and Stevenson got hit, and because it was backwards pass that it was in the end zone. The Bills just covered it up, and it was a touchdown for them. Those are the last points the Bills scored, actually. Our defense played a solid game in this one. Josh Allen's been going off, so I guess he was due for kind of a game like this. We ended up getting touchdown late at the end of the game to cut it to 3. We weren't able to get the ball back. The Bills got a first down, just ran it out on us at the end of the game. They just snuck it with Allen. We had, I think, 9 plays in the end zone there. We had 2 penalties on 3rd and goal. We ended up getting it on 3rd and goal the 3rd time. We had like 2 minutes and change left when we first got in the red zone there. So we could have scored before the 2-minute warning. That would have been an additional timeout. So we had all 3 of our timeouts after. But yeah, I'm not upset with this loss, really. I mean, obviously the Bills are the better team, and we were up 14-0. We played a really solid game. We looked pretty good, and we lost a close game to a team that you can argue is sorry, one of my buddies is texting me here. Um, a team you can argue is gonna, has a really good chance at winning the Super Bowl. So, yep, there's that. Not too upset. May, I think, put a good game. The pick, it looked bad at first, and then when you saw the alternate angle, Hooper was about to break out of his route, and May threw it before the break, and Hooper just slipped. So, and it got picked off. So it didn't look as bad there. Stevenson had a hot start, didn't do too much after, it felt like. No, he didn't really get too much going in the run game. The keeper, May, had on 4th and 1 at the end when we were down 10 there. On the drive we scored a touchdown on after like the 400 plays we had in the red zone. That was his first read option of the entire year. See, Alex Van Pelt, I guess I like Alex Van Pelt. I'm not as down on him as a lot of Patriots fans are, but he has to run more options with May. He even ran one in the preseason with May. So definitely need to, implement more read options there. Booty had a good game. Hooper had a good game. I hope he re-sign Austin Hooper. I really like Austin Hooper. Hunter Henry, consistent game. Bob Douglas. Yeah, pretty good balance for our receivers and tight ends there. Josh Allen, I mentioned, didn't have a great game, but he was kind of due for a game like this. James Cook had a good rushing game. Not much in the Bills receivers, really. James Cook was their leading receiver. Look at the team stats here. I think they're pretty telling of how this game went. Really close in a lot of these categories. We had just over 100. We had 101 more pass yards than the Bills. We had 9 more first down. It's like, how the hell did we lose this game? That fumble when the Bills just got the touchdown off, it really hurt us. And we had 2 other ones outside of that. Stevenson, another one. And, not 2 fumbles, but Stevenson had one, and then May, that interception in the red zone. So the turnovers, I honestly think, cost us this game. If we end up not turning it over, the Bills, I'm sure, probably still would have found a way to win, knowing my team this year. But we had a really good game. Not too upset at the loss in this one, really, at all. Plus, it makes sure that the obnoxious City Chiefs don't get the 1 seed. At least, as of week 16. Yeah, I call them the obnoxious City Chiefs, if I even mentioned that before. So I was joking that with my friends that, we gave our fans the Christmas present of, or the Patriots gave their fans a Christmas present of looking like a championship team after we were up 14-0, and then we intentionally lost, but in a competitive form, so we could give everyone a Christmas present of not letting the Chiefs get the 1 seed. But not too upset at the loss. Bills, they'll probably end up blowing us out in 2 weeks when we play them. They'll probably, play a complete game in comparison to not a great game. And this one, oh God, I hope I'm wrong. But Yeah. Um, let me just check one thing here. Um, let me just check one thing on my phone here. Um, okay. Back to this game. Yeah. So Bills, I'm sure they'll be fine. Not a pretty win, but kind of due for a game like this, kind of prone to games like this. Happy with my team, how they played, I guess, but tough loss for us. Um, oh boy, the Tank Bowl, Jags and Raiders. The Raiders actually winning this game, I think, demoted them down to six. Well, technically moved them up to six in draft positioning, and it moved my team down to number two. We have the second overall pick right now, so that's pretty hype at least. Um, Again, I'm never for intentionally, tanking. I still want my team to win. I don't care how bad the record is. I still pull for my team to win every game. But the Jags really should have had this game probably. They were trailing most of it, and then they had a lead. Brian Thomas was open deep. Mac Jones, my old guy from the Patriots, hit him. And then the Raiders had a third and three, and Aiden O'Connell just like ran around. He just like threw it up to Amir Abdul when he caught it. And they ended up getting a touchdown on that drive. And that was the last points of the game after that. So that really hurt the Jacks that play. Obviously, I saw someone said that's going to be why the Raiders don't get their franchise guy that play. I'm like, yep, that's a Raiders thing that happens to them. My guy Mac Jones, I actually think Mac Jones looked pretty solid in this game. It looked like he was going to lead a game-winning drive at the end there. They converted a 4th and 1. There was a holding, and then they couldn't convert the 4th and 11, and the Raiders just ran off the clock after that. Tank Bigsby had a solid game. Uh, Brian Thomas had a really good game. He was over 1,000 yards in the year for him, so that's really exciting. Jags are obviously their season's a disaster, but good to see that for Brian Thomas. Parker Washington, good game, so decent balance between some of their guys there. Aiden O'Connell looked pretty good in this game. Amir Abdullah, he's like a PPR god the past couple weeks, it feels like. I Again, nothing in the run game, pretty much he did with that touchdown, Abdullah, but he was their second leading receiver. A lot of checkdowns for Amir Abdullah. I almost picked him up actually off of waivers just because of all the checkdowns he's been getting. Brock Bowers, good game. He went over, I think, 1,000 yards. Let me just check here. Um, let's see. Yeah, he went over 1,000 yards in this game, so good for Brock Bowers. Obviously, a really good rookie campaign for him. Um, yeah, decent balance to the Raiders receivers there. Looking at the team stats here, I think they're pretty telling of how the game went. Yeah, close in a lot of these categories. Of course, the Raiders hit the magic number of 69 for rush yards. Nice. They had 6 more first downs than the Jags. Yeah, you can make an argument either team should have won this game. I don't think really either of their fan bases give a shit, honestly. They probably both wanted to lose this game for draft positioning. Um, the wind slams my door shut. That's great. Yeah, close in a lot of these categories here. I feel like there's something else about this game I was going to say, and I'm blanking. Whatever. This is the Tank Bowl. Yeah, I guess a good Raiders defense played solid. So did the Jags, but Raiders defense played solid. I guess it's good for the Raiders to get a win. I definitely the way the Raiders have played has obviously been a disaster. I think they're still like the equivalent of like a 5-win team. They've had a couple close losses they've had, but the Raiders are obviously a disaster. So I guess a good win for them, even though it hurt their draft positioning. The Jags, they're a 3-win team. Their season's a disaster, but they're sort of competitive. They've had a couple close games this season. So yeah, I guess, for the Raiders, if you're rooting for the Raiders, you're a Raiders fan, you don't care about draft positioning, good win. Jags, tough loss, but again, probably a lot of their fan base is happy that they lost to keep their draft position intact. Niners, Dolphins. So this was a good game when was close up until the end. Then the Dolphins ended up getting a two-score lead. Achane got a touchdown uh, that really sealed my sent me to the fantasy champ game. That sealed my opponent's fate. So that was nice to watch. But yeah, this was a close game pretty much the whole way. Purdy kind of, well, statistically, he had a pretty solid game. His pick was it came at a bad time though. Looked like he was going to lead a game-winning drive to a nice completion to pretty sure Jennings, and then the next play Campbell affected Purdy, his throw, and it got picked off. And the Dolphins got that Achane touchdown. Niners ended up driving it down the field, and on a 4th and 1, they couldn't convert it, turn it over on downs. Purdy threw it out. It almost was friggin' picked. Could have been a pick six if the DB was able to get it there and didn't just go down. Let's see. Yeah, obviously the Niners just in injury hell in general, but they're on their 5th-string running back, so that's a problem. They were eliminated from playoff contention before this game, so that must have sucked for them. But at the same time, it's like, all right, well, we don't have anything to lose, so what the hell? George Kittle had a good game, Debo good game, Jennings good game, Pearsall good game, even though he kind of messed up a couple times. Legal formation, Shanahan ripped him on the sideline. Or maybe not ripped him, but he was just pissed off when it happened. I think Pearsall was on the field. But you guys know what I mean. Nice balance there for the Niners. Yeah, Tua, I think, played a good game. Kind of a lot of short completions, but still a good game. Achane went off rushing. Good game for him. He was also their leading receiver. Another PPR god. Jonnu Smith did a good game. Tyreek had a lot of drops in this one. It was a short touchdown, but he did have a touchdown reception. Yeah, so I guess a decent balance there from the Dolphins. Their guys there. Looking at the team stats here, I think it's pretty telling. I think they're pretty telling of how the game went. Close in a lot of these categories, and close in a lot of these categories. Penalties hurt the Niners too. That pick was really crucial for them. I honestly thought that they were going to win the game. Purdue was going to drive down the field and win the game, and then that pick happened. Yeah, I think these stats pretty telling of how the game went. Good game. Dolphins keep their playoff hopes up. They should win out, the Dolphins. And so if they went out, they just need the Broncos to lose out and the Colts to lose one, and they'll be in. That's unfortunately for the Bengals. Again, I mentioned I'm pulling for them. It looks like out of them, the Dolphins and the Colts, the Bengals probably have the least chance to make it over them because they have to win out. Are they going to beat both the Broncos and the Steelers? I think the Broncos, I feel decently confident about. The Steelers, that might be a little bold, predicting them to win that. And then the Colts should win out, and then the Dolphins should win out. It would be upsets if either the Dolphins or the Colts lost either of their last 2 games. So maybe not a major one of the Jags beat the Colts, but you guys probably know what I mean, hopefully. Hopefully I'm making sense here. But anyway, not to get ahead of myself for the playoffs again. I keep doing that. Good game here in this one. Niners just another close loss, and that was technically 2-score loss, but really a 1-score game pretty much the whole game. So tough loss to the Niners. Good win for the Dolphins against again beat up, but definitely dangerous Niners team still. So good win for the Dolphins in this one to keep their playoff hopes alive. Bucks Cowboys. This is a good Sunday night game. There's a lot of hard hitting defensive football in this game. A lot of hard hits in this one. It was very impressive. The Cowboys eliminated from playoff contention going into this game, so probably like the Niners were like, all right, well, what the hell? We don't have anything to lose, so fuck it, let's just do whatever. Cooper Rush had a really good game in this one. A lot of Bucks fans want Todd Bowles gone. It's been like that for years, but this was another example of like, can we please move on from this guy? Cooper Rush had a really solid game, I think. CD had a good game. Cooks had a good game. A good amount of, nice balance. Their receivers there. Baker had a good game. The pick wasn't really on him. Or it wasn't even really on McMillan. It's like a 50-50 ball. It looked like McMillan caught it in the end zone, and then the DB, I think it was Jordan Lewis, just ripped it out of his hands. Besides that, I think Baker played a really good game. He had a couple nice rushes too that were big plays. Bucky Irving had a good game. Rachaad White, obviously, he fumbled it at the end, lost the Bucks the game. Otherwise, the Bucks probably end up winning that game. I think. I think Baker would have gotten them in field goal range. McLaughlin's clutch, so I think he would have made the kick. Or maybe they get the touchdown. Who the hell knows? But I think they would have probably pulled it off if Rachaad White doesn't fumble that because their hurry up offense is really good. It feels like, especially in this game, they were down 2 scores. They get the ball back with like 3 minutes and change, and they score. They went the whole length of the field and scored before the 2 minute warning. Um, Mike Evans had a good game. Jalen McMillan had a good game. Rachaad White, another PPR guy too. Not as good as this year as last year, but still good PPR guy. Nice balance between the Bucks receivers there. Look at the team stats here. It's probably like, how the hell did the Bucks lose this game? They outplayed them, the Cowboys, in pretty much every category. And again, per game, per usual with games like this, turnovers. The Bucks had 2 of them. One of them came in the red zone that took away a touchdown, and one of them took away a potential scoring drive at the end there. But even still, before that, the Bucks were down. They were down before their 2 turnovers. The Cowboys pretty much were leading. Actually, now that the Cowboys were leading the entire game. They were up 3-0, and then they were literally leading the entire game. So the Bucks were trailing this game. They also, their first drive, they had two. Rachaad White was open, but Baker to get it out quick on the Cowboys and some pressure. It was incomplete. Rachaad White was open, would have had the first down, probably some more too. And then 4th down, they went for it, and Sterling Shepard dropped it wide open. He got hurt in this game too. So hopefully he's okay because they are like razor thin at receiver with, Godwin being out too. Leeds Evans is back, obviously. That helps them. Hopefully Mike Evans can get his 1,000-yard season to keep his streak alive. He needs a lot though. Actually, let's see. Let's see how many receiving yards Mike Evans has. Okay, yep. Not just going to display it and make my life easy. Let's see. He's got 818 yards, so he needs a little less than 200 yards over these next 2 games. That's doable. It's going to be a lot though, but it's doable. Yeah, the turnovers really hurt the Bucks in this game, and it really hurt their chances at winning the division. They still have really a decent chance at winning the division, but they controlled their own destiny going into this game. They simply just had to win out to win their division. But still, obviously the Bucks have Super Bowl aspirations. Do I think they're going to get there? No. I think their ceiling is probably the divisional round. I probably, if they would have won, got their division. Again, they still might play the 5 seed. I'm kind of blanking on who the hell the 5 seed is off the top of my head right now. Oh, okay. Well, now that I'm thinking about it, it's probably going to be the Vikings. Well, it's going to be the loser of the NFC North, which is either Vikings, Lions. I definitely would pick either of those teams, whichever one it is, to beat the Bucks. Even though the Bucks did beat the Lions in week 2 earlier this year, it felt like the Lions just beat themselves, all the things they were doing in that game for the most part. Not to discredit the Bucks, but anyway, not to get ahead of myself again with the playoffs here. Just super pumped for the playoffs. Yeah, I think these stats pretty telling. Tough loss to the Bucks. Decent chance to win their division. Maybe they can get in as a wild card. Not too sure. Yeah. Anyway, Cowboys, they play the Eagles. That'll be an interesting game. They're playing a lot better. They've won 4 out of their last 5. I think the only game they lost is the Bengals game, which they probably should have won, and they should be 8-7 right now with a chance at contending for a postseason spot. That really sucks for the Cowboys, at least if they lost that game. I'm not a Cowboys fan by any means. It's always funny to see all the memes about them losing and stuff. But if you're a Cowboys fan, that really is going to be gut-wrenching, that loss to the Bengals now that you're playing a lot better. So it'll be interesting to see how the Cowboys play over the last 2 games, and so the Bucks. It'll be interesting to see what happens with them heading into the playoffs here, if they make it. Hopefully, I think they're really entertaining. Definitely dangerous and sneaky team. Oh boy, Monday Night Football last night. Saints, Packers. Well, really, I don't think there's much to say about this game. I think if you look at sometimes if you just look at the score of a game, it can be misleading. Not in this one. The Packers just completely dominated the Saints. The Saints looked absolutely horrible pretty much the whole game. They got pretty much nothing offensively the entire game. I mean, the two highlight plays offensively the Saints had off the top of my head that I can remember. Rattler had a nice completion on the sideline to who the hell was it? No, this is gonna oh yeah, it was Foster Moreau or is either Juwan Johnson or Foster. I think it was Juwan Johnson, and he fumbled it out of bounds. And the Commanders, the Saints didn't realize that the clock was still running, so they let about I think like 15 seconds run off the clock, maybe even more than that, 20 plus, maybe something like that, somewhere in that ballpark. And then they called the timeout. So they have one play that's a good play negated because the clock running. They didn't realize the clock was still running. And then their other play, they converted, I think it was a third and 17, Rattler like a jump pass. And I was just waiting for the Joe Buck and Troy Aikman to be like, oh, the Patrick Mahomes throw right there. But so that was a good play. And then literally the next play, Rattler throws a bad interception. So both the good plays they had get negated, either the play after or because of not calling a timeout and coaching errors. Just nothing going for the Saints game. Rattler played a bad game, nothing in the run game whatsoever, pretty much. Rattler's their leading rusher. Pretty much nothing from their receiving core, except actually Foster Moreau did have a was it him or Johnson? One of the two. I think it was Foster Moreau. It was third and 12, I think. He caught a like nice contested pass. Rattler ended up fumbling on it. He got strip sacks. They didn't end up scoring anything off of it. Obviously, they scored 0 the whole game. First shutout in the NFL this season. My dad had he was up 9 going into this game, and all his opponent in fantasy and all his opponent in the semis had his opponent just had the Packers defense, and let's just say that my dad will not be in the championship game, unfortunately, because the Packers defense completely balled out in this one. My dad's not too happy with that. Yeah, Jordan Love played a good game. Packers are up 21-0. They scored a touchdown their first 3 drives, and they cooled down a bit after that. Josh Jacobs got hurt in this game, but he was playing good. They just kept him out the whole second half. I think just precautionary. They were up a bunch, didn't want to risk it. But yeah, Manuel Wilson and Chris Brooks looked pretty good. More so, Manuel Wilson got more action. He looked pretty good. But even Chris Brooks got a touchdown. All three of their backs got a touchdown in this game. Yeah, nice balance between all the receivers there. Yeah, Reed, Kraft, even Jacobs getting involved. So nice balance for the Packers receivers there. Look at the team stats here. I think they're pretty telling of how the game went. Just complete, domination from the Packers in literally every category. Don't think there's going to be a single category here the Saints all played them in. Let's see. Yep, literally not one. The Saints just completely got slaughtered in this. I mean, technically they had less penalty yards, but they showed more, one more penalty. The Packers just dominated this game. Just nothing really to talk about with the Saints, really, in terms of this game. Just nothing going for their part. I was thinking maybe they could keep Darren Rizzi as the head coach, but, a game like this, I definitely think it's going to hurt his stock. They talked about at the end of the game too, Troy Aikman and Joe Buck, that the Saints should just probably embrace a full rebuild at this point. Obviously it's going to be tough because they just want to contend with, want to be a contending team. I understand that, of course, but they need to just bite the bullet and go into a full rebuild. They've been salary cap hell for so long. Mickey Loomis always just pushes the salary cap back as far as he can, and they just gonna embrace it, bite the bullet, and just do a full rebuild, I think. So I agree with Troy and Joe there when they were talking about that. Packers, I mentioned it earlier. I think I did at least. The Packers are my dark horse team for the Super Bowl. No one, at least that I know of, is talking about the Packers as making a Super Bowl run. Everyone's talking about Lions, Eagles, some about the Vikings, not so much the Vikings, but some people the Vikings. I haven't heard like anything about the Packers. I would not at all be surprised if the Packers end up making a late run to the in the playoffs here. I think they're going to beat the Vikings next week, and then they play. Where the hell do they play? Uh, must be the Bears, right? Because each 18's all division, and they only played the Bears once, so it must be the Bears. Let me just double check. Um, yeah, the Bears. So I think they're going to win out. They're going to win 13 games, which that means at worst, the Vikings, are they going to beat the Lions? I honestly don't know. Week 18. I actually don't know. But God, I don't know. Actually, I'm gonna really have to think about this game. But right now, if I had to pick, I'd probably give the slight edge to the Vikings, mainly due to all the Lions injuries. But I don't know. I'll have to think about that for my official prediction 2 weeks. But you're gonna have a 13-win team. The Packers, if my predictions hold up here, 13 win team with the Packers. You're gonna have a 14 win 14 win team the Vikings and a 14 team win with the a 14 win team rather. I might have just said that in reverse. Might have reversed team and win, but you guys know what the hell I mean. Losing my mind here. You see, yeah, 14 wins for the Vikings and Lions and 13 for the Packers, all in the same division. And then there's the Bears, who looked good, for that Hail Mary, but oh God. But yeah, Packers, something about this team. I'm gonna have to see how the playoffs, what the final seeding looks like, but boy, I'm gonna be very hesitant to pick against the Packers to lose any game, honestly, in the playoffs. But it's gonna be very I don't know. Packers, I'm really feeling them. I predicted them to lose to the Lions in the NFC Championship game for my preseason prediction. I don't know. I don't know. Packers, I'm really feeling them. There's something about this team. I'm just really feeling them. Can't wait for the playoffs. All right, let me just double check. I went over all the games here. Yep. All right, so we got all the games. So pretty good week of football. Week 17 is going to be a little crazy to schedule. And obviously, you get the 2 Christmas games, a Thursday night game, a couple Saturday games. I hate when my whole Saturday is going to be taken up by football, just 3 separate games. At least my team's playing in one of them. Can probably get my blowout loss out of the way Saturday. Yeah, and then obviously you get the Sunday games. But yeah, pretty good week. Nice balance of games here. Some good games, some ugly games, some close games, some entertaining games. So pretty good balance this week. Yeah, good group of games. Hopefully you guys see good fantasy. Most leagues are in the fantasy championship. Next week, I'm in the fantasy championship in 2 of my leagues. I'm one of them I'm probably gonna lose. Another one, it's like a 50-50 chance. I'm at like a 48% win probability. My opponent's at 52. But I have James Conner and Zay Flowers who are both banged up, and I'm like, you've got to be fucking kidding me. It's the league that I always get screwed with injuries every year. I've been pretty good this year besides Nico Collins being out. That kind of hurt my team, and I was winning even with him on the IR. And it's just my friend and I that technically I co-manage the team with him, but it's pretty much just me, kind of is his name on the team. We called it a hospital team for years, and hopefully it's not turning into that in the championship. Gonna knock on wood it isn't, but anyway, hopefully you guys did good betting. I got screwed with Devontae Smith dropping that pass I mentioned earlier, but I did hit another parlay. I won $10, so at least there's that. Hope you guys did good with picks. I will end this video here. I'm gonna record shortly my video prediction my prediction video rather for the games tomorrow, Christmas, the Thursday night game, and the Saturday game. So be on the lookout for that. I will end the video here. Thank you guys for tuning in. Have a good one and take it easy. And if you guys end up not tuning in to my next video, hope you guys all have a great Christmas. And yeah, have a great Christmas. Spend time with your family and friends. Get all the gifts you're hoping for, hopefully. Have a great time. And yeah, I don't know what else to say. You guys know what I mean. All right, thanks, guys. Have a good one. Take it easy.